Up doing. I mean, I'm careful. There's a big difference between not being scared and being careful. I'm
Right.
not scared, but you have to be careful, or somebody's going to get hurt if you're not.
True.
What if the person you thought was just a TV hunter, quiet, rugged, camera shy, turned out to be one of the last protectors of a dying American ecosystem? A whisper of something unspoken opens a story. What happened in the swamp that changed everything? We don't know yet, but there's a hole in the tale, and you'll stay tuned to learn more. Jacob Landry, calm and composed, has always been a quiet force behind his father on Swamp People, but recent events have cracked that surface of steady composure. Jacob's life and our story begins where mud meets mystery, the sprawling Atchafalaya Basin in Louisiana. Beneath the cypress canopies, it's not just nature that hides secrets. Every September, when the 30-day alligator season kicks off, these hunters, driven by tradition and necessity, dive into the swamp's tangled heart. Imagine earning most of your income in 1 month against unpredictable weather, snaring toothy beasts, and racing against the clock. That's the pressure cooker they call home. Picture it. Jacob, in the bow of the boat, eyes locked ahead. The engine hums. Water whispers beneath the hull. His father, Troy, wields a snare rope with veteran precision, while Jacob navigates narrow waterways like veins in the swamp's living artery. That dance, boat control, sudden currents, the snap of turtle crests required nerves of steel. And Jacob? He never wavered. His composure was magnetic. No wonder fan connected with him. A real guy with real skills. But last season, everything was different. Jacob, who once greeted each tag out with quiet pride, now carried something heavier. Rumors began to swirl. A heartbreaking loss shook his community, though details remained sparse. One video explicitly refers to a heartbreaking tragedy. Fans watched as Jacob's once steady exterior shifted, just enough to raise concerns. What did he endure? What did he lose? We're just scratching the surface. Back in the early episodes, young Jacob seemed content to follow his dad's lead. A shadow at first, becoming more than just support. He was the anchor, the calm in the headlong rush into gator jaws and murky waters. His rise was subtle. No flashy speech, no dramatic showmanship, just consistent, low-key mastery. He was a reminder, bravery doesn't always roar. Sometimes it waits, patient, beside you. By season 4, the show expanded to Texas swamps and other pockets of Louisiana. The terrain changed, but Jacob stayed the same. Focused, reliable, hardworking. Viewers loved the cameo of his growth. From silent partner to indispensable half of the hunting duo, his bond with Troy wasn't staged. It was pure, forged by years of shoulder-to-shoulder tension, shared triumphs and silent understandings. Emotional? Absolutely. Hooks were in every interaction. A glance, a nod, a wipe of sweat, little moments that made you lean in. But with success came scrutiny. As his popularity grew, so did the challenges. The serene world Jacob knew gave way to a harsher reality. Fans wanting more, critics questioning authenticity, headlines hinting the show might bend reality for drama. Animal rights groups even raised eyebrows, wondering if reality was being tweaked for entertainment. Every tag, every conversation behind the camera, was it real or engineered? For Jacob's genuine heart, it was a heavy weight. Behind the scenes, it was chaos disguised as calm. What looked like a smooth hunt, a strike on a gator, could mean long hours of reshoots, gear failures, weather delays. Pressures to get the perfect shot clashed with swamp unpredictability. Jacob, dedicated to authenticity, often found himself torn between hitting entertainment marks and staying true to his roots. Show Must Go On took on a different meaning when you're wrestling hundreds of pounds of wild reptile, dozens of feet from your face. Still, he pressed on. Through heat, insects, storms, and scrutiny, Jacob remained anchored. And just as the cameras seemed to be pulling back, something changed. The rumor mill turned tragic. Some say a close family member vanished. Others hint at a dangerous accident in the marsh. Whatever the truth, it shook Jacob. And without spoiling everything, his world hasn't been the same since. Through the lens, we saw more than a hunter. We saw a young man grappling with grief, identity, and the uncomfortable spotlight. His quiet persona grew weightier. The swamp's lessons seemed to speak differently. The tool of patience felt heavier, the rhythm of life slower. His once effortless navigation became deliberate, almost contemplative, and we wondered, is this growth or retreat? As cameras rolled last season, Jacob's focus shifted. It wasn't just about tags or income anymore. His every action felt bigger, as if he were carrying those unanswered questions with him in every stroke of the oar. Behind his calm, you could sense tension, like a storm gathering beyond the horizon, and you couldn't help but lean in, waiting to see how he'd break, bend, or rebuild. What makes this story compelling isn't the danger, it's how Jacob responds to it. The swamp is a master teacher. It rewards preparation, punishes complacency, and humbles the proud. For Jacob, every stormy current became a test of character. His journey from quiet apprentice to the emotional center of the show represents more than personal growth. It's a mirror reflecting the swamp's own unpredictable nature. So when tragedy struck, it didn't just echo off the reeds. It reverberated to the entire swamp family. Jacob's response? To carry on, work harder, push deeper, find purpose through devotion to land, family, and tradition. That response became more powerful than any alligator conquest. Jacob never tried to conquer the swamp. He listened to it, learned its rhythms, and let it shape him. That bond brought a wisdom few his age possess, and at its core, family anchored him long before cameras captured his calm demeanor. The Landrys were more than hunters. They were custodians of the swampland ecosystem, guardians of its fragile balance, trained in respect before taking the first step into murky water. Growing up, Jacob absorbed lessons not just in harvesting gators, but in preserving this delicate world and understanding the invisible threads that connect all living things. That sense of unity of life, land, and kin rang clear in everything he did. And yet, you're about to learn this foundation would soon be tested like never before. At home in Pierre Part, his sanctuary becomes real. There beyond the swamp lies a quieter universe built by his wife, Lindsay. She doesn't speak on reality TV, doesn't pose for interviews, and yet she is the unspoken heart of his world. After a brutal day battling crocodilian giants, Jacob trades adrenaline for peaceful routines. Home-cooked meals, the laughter at young Ridge and Case, and the comfort of predictable moments. These times come with no camera lights, no scripted drama, just simple routines that matter more than any tag out. It's a side of Jacob that audiences rarely see, but it's precisely what fuels his strength when the swamp demands everything. Parenthood shaped him. He shares more than hunting tricks with his boys. He passes down life lessons disguised as outdoor education, steering a skiff through hidden currents, reading the currents of water like weather systems, observing wildlife's subtle signs. All those swamp teachings come wrapped in patience and respect. He shapes their spirits as much as their skills, teaching them that strength isn't about domination. It's about coexistence. Jacob isn't breeding hunters. He's raising mindful custodians. Open to paths beyond the swamp, whether in classrooms or beyond. Even amid the chaos of filming and public attention, he prioritizes presence. A lunch made just for the kids, an afternoon chore session around the house, a quiet evening with Lindsay in tow. These moments ground him, reminding everyone who knows him that real life exists beyond the screen. And as he stands at the water's edge with father and brothers, Jacob's sense of identity remains firmly rooted in home, not the show. He shares the Landry legacy, but he's careful to craft his own version of it. A blend of humility, responsibility, and love. From the very start, seasons drifted in like the water itself, pulling Jacob from quiet support to more visible leadership. Fans noticed a shift when he began stepping up, taking interviews, signing autographs at events, and gently moving into the spotlight on behalf of the whole Landry clan. But nobody who knew him would say Jacob changed with the cameras. That camera footage was simply uncovering him, revealing who he always was. A man raised by the swamp, firmly rooted in its lessons. Viewers were drawn not by performance, but by authenticity. The show didn't just document hunts. It opened the door to swamp lore, its traditions, and its people. And Jacob unwittingly became that bridge. He shone a light on how the swamp could teach patience, humility, and resilience. It wasn't just a survival show. It was a lesson in living. His approach, a quiet presence, respectful tone, gentle demeanor, became a beacon in a genre known for loud personalities. People found solace in his unspoken strength, yet with exposure came pressure. As Jacob's role amplified, so did expectations. Ratings rose, sponsors sought him, and alligator meat, once a niche product, transformed into a lucrative commodity. Industry insiders say that thanks to the show, gator meat now sells across the U.S. at around $10 a pound. Something that would have seemed unimaginable before his voice carried those stories outside Louisiana. Jacob's authenticity shaped not only viewers, but the market itself. The swamp's lessons were being monetized, commercialized, and he sometimes wondered if that shifted the balance. Behind the cameras, dynamics changed too. Troy, the patriarch, faced scrutiny after a tagging violation that led to legal trouble when gators were found without the proper permits. That legal murmur echoed to the Landry name, adding a public spotlight to what they usually kept private. It was an example of how even family can be shaken when fame introduces new pressures. Jacob remained quiet through it all, supporting his father while staying mindful of staying true to the swamp's values. Then came the moment that demanded everything. Last season, Jacob stepped back. His presence in episodes shrank in ways fans couldn't ignore. Some speculated he'd just want a lower profile. Others whispered of personal trials behind the scenes. The truth? After more than a decade in the swamp spotlight, he needed a pause, not from hunting or from family, but from the demands that conflicted with who he really was. He chose to prioritize his role away from cameras, returning to Pierre Part where privacy and simplicity could reclaim what noise had eroded. Jacob's turn to acting and guiding wasn't just a detour. It was a declaration. He didn't simply appear in a low-budget horror feature. He helped shape it, stepping behind the camera and teasing audiences with creative spark they hadn't seen before. That brief taste flipped expectations. Suddenly, Jacob was more than a quiet boatman. He was a storyteller exploring uncharted waters. Imagine the shock when people realized his ambition extended beyond alligators. That appearance on the Queen Latifah show in 2013 remains a rare window into the man behind the hat. No swamp, no snares, just Jacob, honest and grounded, talking about growing up in the marsh and adjusting to unexpected fame. There were no flashy moments, just genuine reflection, and the ripple of who he'd become began there. It was the kind of moment that makes you reconsider everything you thought you knew. These days, Jacob's priorities have shifted again. He's back at the water's edge, but this time he's guiding tours, weaving stories about swamp life and conservation into every stroke of the oar. Visitors show up for the rush of seeing a gator up close, but they stay for the lessons he shares on restoring wetlands and preserving a way of life. It's as if he's trading adrenaline for advocacy, and the impact? It's quietly seismic. Occasionally he reappears on Swamp People, more like a promise than a star. His presence, though brief, pulses with nostalgia and authenticity. When he steps back on screen, often during key seasons or milestone episodes, it feels like welcoming back someone important who never truly left. Fans lean forward. They remember the calm confidence, and for a moment, the swamp world returns. This is why they cheer his name whenever he reemerges. Of course, social media has become another stage. Jacob rarely floods feeds, but when he does, it's thoughtful. A sunset photo over cypress knees, a candid family moment with Lindsay and the boys, a clip of a tour group immersed in swamp lore. Each share feels intimate and deliberate. Here I am, he seems to whisper, but on my own terms. Looking forward, Jacob's vision is quietly ambitious. He wants to partner with schools, community groups, and environmental organizations to deepen understanding of bayou ecosystems. Beyond teaching Ridge and KCR boat steering, he hopes to instill in all kids a sense of stewardship, that nature isn't just a backdrop, it's our greatest teacher. And if that message spreads beyond Pierre Part, the swamp's future could be brighter. So here we stand at the end of this journey, from kid in the swamp to a guiding voice for the next generation. Jacob Landry didn't chase celebrity. He followed meaning, and in doing so, he's built something enduring. His story reminds us that true transformation isn't about the spotlight. It's about staying true to yourself, reshaping your path, and passing wisdom forward. What most people don't see is how Jacob's world operates in layers. One part public legacy, one part private devotion. Behind the scenes of his alligator tours and rare TV appearances is a man deeply involved in preserving a vanishing culture. The wetlands he grew up in are changing rapidly. Rising sea levels, saltwater intrusion, and collapsing marshes are pushing wildlife and families alike to the edge. Jacob isn't just observing this loss. He's fighting against it. He partners with conservation nonprofits and university researchers, quietly helping track marsh degradation and spread awareness to tourists who might otherwise miss the urgency beneath the surface. For Jacob, this is a race against time, and every sunrise on a bayou counts. What's remarkable is how he's turned tradition into a platform for education. His swamp tours aren't tourist traps. They're mobile classrooms, where he unpacks everything from gator mating rituals to the science of cypress root systems. He explains how overharvesting, industrial pollution, and weather shifts have all disrupted the fragile rhythms of the swamp. And yet, there's always a note of hope. He believes that awareness can lead to action, that storytelling can protect an ecosystem. These tours are about more than spectacle, they're about legacy. Jacob's method of communication has matured over time. He's no longer just a son following in his father's footsteps. He's creating his own narrative, one that balances reverence for the old ways with a responsibility to adapt. Where Troy once symbolized raw skill and instinct, Jacob now stands for thoughtful stewardship. This evolution isn't just generational, it's strategic. While Troy still dominates the screen with his magnetic presence and fearless leadership, Jacob has carved out a quieter, more educational space that may prove even more enduring. And yet, the emotional weight of this transformation is not lost on him. There are days he admits he misses the adrenaline, the cheers from fans, the feeling of being part of something larger on national TV. But those fleeting moments never outweighed his need for meaning. He didn't want to be famous for the sake of it. He wanted to use his platform to reflect something deeper, something that resonates not just in rural Louisiana, but across communities grappling with identity and change. Interestingly, Jacob's deliberate pullback from fame comes at a time when many reality stars are doing the opposite, diving into brand deals, TikTok stardom, or scripted reboots. But Jacob resists the spectacle. He's turned down more than a few flashy offers, endorsement deals that didn't align with his values, product placements that felt disingenuous, even interviews that would have pushed him into tabloid territory. His compass isn't guided by clicks or followers. It's grounded in authenticity. And that's part why his fan base, though smaller than some of his peers, remains fiercely loyal. His Instagram may not be filled with luxury yachts or Rolex close-ups, but you'll find something more compelling. Footage of him and his sons fixing nets, clips of local wildlife, or sun-drenched moments deep in the cypress groves. He's teaching his boys what the swamp taught him. Respect it, listen to it, and never assume you've mastered it. Because the truth is, even now, Jacob considers himself a student of the marsh, and that humility is rare in a world that rewards ego over empathy. This sense of legacy extends into his business moves, too. While not splashing out on exotic cars or sprawling estates, Jacob has made strategic investments in swamp-adjacent ventures, guided fishing trips, sustainable gear lines, and collaborations with local artisans. He's even been in talks with outdoor brands to create eco-conscious hunting equipment that reflects his ethos. These aren't just business plays. They're a way of making sure his values are stitched into everything he supports. His sense of wealth is holistic, built on integrity rather than excess. To contrast, let's take a quick lens at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a celebrity who's mastered the fusion of fame and finance. Johnson's empire stretches from energy drinks and sportswear to blockbuster films and a tequila brand. He owns multiple estates, including a $27 million Beverly Park mansion, drives custom Ford Raptors, and collects high-end watches like Panerai and Rolex. His Gulfstream G650 private jet, often shown on Instagram, is practically a mobile office. And yet, what's fascinating is that his massive success also rests on authenticity. His relentless discipline, consistent messaging, and ability to build emotional trust with his audience. Both men, Jacob and Dwayne, have pursued very different paths, but they converge on one truth. Lasting influence comes from knowing who you are and building outward from that core. Ultimately, Jacob Landry's story isn't just about a man from the bayou. It's about what it means to honor where you come from while daring to evolve. It's about trading fame for fulfillment, spectacle for substance, and noise for quiet conviction. His is a story written in the hush of the swamp at dawn, in the laughter of his children learning to cast a line, and in the silent stewardship of a land too often overlooked. If the story stirred something in you, hit that like button, share it with someone who values authenticity, and drop a comment with your favorite Jacob moment.